Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 564. This was kind of a short game, and the opening was pretty interesting. It was an unusual gambit that my software classified as a Blackmar-Diemer gambit, although it looks more like a Blackmar gambit to me. In any case, I think I will spend some time talking about these interesting opening lines. But first, let's look at what happened in the game. So my opponent went d4. And I went knight f6, thinking to play the Grinfeld defense with g6 and d5. And then my opponent played f3 here, which I've seen in other contexts called an anti-Grinfeld move, although I think it would typically be played a move or two later if the intent is just to avoid the mainline Grinfeld. He plays it immediately, and he has a different intent here. So I didn't quite realize what was going on. I played d5. d5 is still a logical move. I mean, I've got two pieces on this e4 square, so I've prevented him from playing e4, which he plays anyway. And so not knowing what was going on, not quite recognizing this gambit just yet, I went ahead and took the pawn. This is a stage where I probably could do something else, and we'll come back to this point. But let's go forward and we'll see the gambit. I take the pawn, and then he takes back. And then I just took here, and he developed his knight to f3. And so we're now in what looks like a line of the Blackmar gambit, which is not too bad for white. You can see that white's down a pawn, but the evaluation is only minus 0.3 here, which means that white has a lot of compensation. He has open lines. And this is the kind of position I would normally prefer to avoid as black, particularly if if I'm not really familiar with the gambit. It's always dangerous to go into a gambit that your opponent knows more about than you do. So and that's kind of what happened in the game. But let's go back and let's show the traditional Blackmar and Blackmar-Diemer gambits and compare them. So the Blackmar gambit, this will also give us some ideas of how to respond. So goes d4, d5, and then e4 immediately, sacrificing the pawn. And then you can take this, and the idea of the Blackmar gambit was to play f3 at this point, challenging that pawn in the center. And now if you go ahead and keep taking, you get into that similar situation where black has open lines for his pieces. He gets a knight developed to f3, and it's an interesting gambit. It's not maybe entirely sound, but white gets some play for the pawn. But there is a problem with the Blackmar gambit. This is the original way it was played, and that is that black has the move e5 here, and this poses some awkward questions for white. And keep this e5 move in mind. So if white just takes the pawn, black will go ahead and trade queens, and then there's not so much of an attack, well, black gets the first move in development. He can develop a piece here. Let's see if we count the pawns. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the pawns are actually even. If white takes this pawn, black will round up this pawn. So the pawns will stay even, but black has an edge in development, and white's remaining pawn in the center might be kind of weak, and white has lost the ability to castle. So this is a good position for black, maybe even winning. So that was why the Blackmar gambit never really caught on. But then Diemer came along, and I came up with this improvement. So the Blackmar-Diemer gambit goes like this: d4, d5, and then instead of playing e4 immediately, white would follow up with the move knight to f6, and black plays the natural. Knight to c3, and black plays the natural knight to f6, and then white would proceed with the gambit e4, and if you take, then f3, and now if you play the move e5, it doesn't work anymore, and that's the whole idea of this inserting these two knight moves, because now white can take this pawn. He doesn't mind a queen trade because at the end this knight is hanging, and it doesn't have any good squares to go to. This f3 pawn controls these squares. let's see, it could go out to the rim, knight to h5, but I guess it doesn't find much useful to do there. So it retreats back to g8 or to d7. And so once again, this has turned into a good gambit for white. And in fact, white is winning in this position. So you don't play e5 if in the Blackmar-Diemer. You only do that in the Blackmar gambit where the knights are not there. In the Blackmar-Diemer, though, what you can do is play this move bishop f5, and this is the way I play it. And so this just brings the bishop over here to the king side, so it's a little bit safer. It gives up, gives the pawn back. Black takes, and the bishop. No, I take that back. You can still stay a pawn up with knight takes, and but it seems this position seems a little bit easier to defend to me. I've played this position before, and should be okay. There are other options too. After e4, in this case, you can play e6. If you know the French defenses transposes into a, you can see it's actually the top move here because it transposes into a main line. It's the classical French. So that's a good way to just avoid the gambit altogether. But it is okay to take and then play this bishop f5 move. That's the way I play it. So those are the two ideas. Against the Blackmar, you play the move e5, and against the Blackmar-Diemer, you can play the move bishop to f5. Okay, so let's go back to the game and try and figure out what happened there. He played d4. I went knight f6, so I haven't played d5 yet. He goes f3. Now I play d5, and he plays e4. And so this really resembles the Blackmar gambit more than the Blackmar-Diemer, because he hasn't played his knight to c3. But one difference here is that I don't have a chance to play my bishop to f5. So the line that I would play against the Blackmar-Diemer is ruled out by this move order, because that square is controlled by his pawn. And after I take, he takes back. It's still controlling the f5 square, so I never get in this bishop f5 move. It's totally clamped down on that. But what you can do is recognize this isn't really a Blackmar-Diemer, but it's really a Blackmar. He hasn't got this knight out here, and you can play the move. You can play the move e5 here, and the difference is after taking and the exchange of queens. This pawn is not protected. In the Blackmar line, there was still a pawn on f3 and actually a black pawn here on e4. So because of the different move order, this is a loose pawn here, and it gives the knight a decent escape square. And so that's a way to confront this particular move order. So that's the way to play this, is you have to remember your ideas from both the Blackmar line and the Blackmar-Diemer line and choose the appropriate one. So I couldn't get in the move. At bishop to f5, but I could get in potentially the move e5 from the Blackmar gambit. And the key point is that the knight can go forward after it's kicked in the exchange of queens, whereas in the Blackmar-Diemer, with the knight out, this knight was forced back to some bad squares, and that's what gave white the advantage. So anyway, pawn to e5 is the move to play here if you're ever in this position. Now what I played is not a losing move. All it does is it gives white exactly what he wants, and that's really the problem. So I play normal moves here, and I don't give up the advantage for a while, because he has sacrificed a pawn. He doesn't really have completely adequate compensation, but he has the kind of position that he wants. He has open lines for his pieces, and he's familiar with all the attacking ideas here. Let's see, he continues with bishop d3. I drop my knight back, and watch the evaluation. See, it stays in black's favor for a while here. He castles. You can see how quick white's attack is building. This rook file pressure, bishop here, and the queen coming out. So I go bishop e7. It's important to shore up this knight against exchanges. And he goes c3. I'm not sure what that did, really. I wasn't yet threatening this d-pawn, but it's not a bad move. It kind of discourages me from playing the immediate knight to c6. It takes away squares from that knight. I castle. Maybe also he was anticipating this move c5 that he played. Okay, he brings another knight into the game. I go with c5. And all this is being played okay by both sides. The idea here is that, with this gambit, he's opened up the dark square diagonal towards his king. So I want to try and open this up, and the bishop posted here on c5 would look pretty good. Okay, he brings his knight around to hit my pawn. I do this exchange to weaken his pawns here. And then I get my knight developed. Now he goes queen e1. So now he's setting up for that queenside attack. And I need to figure out how to get my bishop developed. I go with b6. Yeah, b6 is still one of the moves that's in the book. And he goes queen h4. And right here I actually make the losing move of the game. So you can see there's a couple moves here that are good. I really like this queen d5 move. Just getting my queen out and looking along this rank, and preventing his queen from coming forward, looking to trade off pieces if they show up there. So that's an interesting way to play. Bishop to g5 might be the answer. Well, let's take a look at this. So queen d5 here. The thing is, his knights are supporting the d-pawn, so that's pretty solid. It's not being subject to attack, but his knights are not controlling the square in front of the pawn, so I can just park my queen here. The only piece that can really chase it away is the bishop, or maybe the rooks. Let's see. So if he just hits me immediately with this bishop move, oh yeah, I can just take it. I have the knight controlling that square, so the bishop can't really harass the queen either. So the queen is stable on there. So what's the recommended move? Bishop back to d2, or knight forward to g5, or bishop to g5. Say he tries knight g5. Is there a simple way to chase that knight away? And now h6 is a move I can play here, and that will chase the knight away. Interesting. So the knight is in the way, and he doesn't have this bishop sacrifice on h6 like he did in the game. How about bishop to g5 here? So now h6 still. h6, let's see if he tries this sacrifice. G takes. The knight's defended, the queen can grab here. But it looks like my queen is pretty well posted for defense. If the knight comes in... Oh, it's my turn now. Okay, I need to play very precisely though, but I have the move queen h5, and apparently that's good enough to frustrate the attack. So that's one way to continue from here, and black would be winning. So that's the thing about these gambits. They're unsound because you can, if you can find that correct defense, you will end up winning the game. But one misstep, and the game is over. And the misstep here was h6, and the evaluation immediately shifts. Look at how quickly it rises. So this is just a losing move, and he demolishes me pretty effectively here. So he sacrifices the bishop here, and then comes in with the queen. And I don't really have much I can do about it. I play queen d5 now, so I had spotted that defensive idea, but it's a little too late. His knight comes in. Let's see, I try knight takes d4, but well, nothing's working. Now there's a mate in 8 on the board. Let's see, is there ways to... No, I was already getting mated here. Yeah, it's just all over. It just goes downhill amazingly fast. I can't get my pieces over here to defend quickly enough. Let's see, he plays his a-rook over to the d-file. Not the best move, but still winning. Let's see, I went rook to d8. I'm trying to give my king an escape square in case the queen comes forward. He's threatening to sacrifice the knight here. Let's see, he plays bishop h7 check. Yeah, that works too. There's a mate in 2 now. I take the bishop, he takes with the queen, the king runs to f8, and now there's 2 different mates. He can mate me on h8, or he can mate me on f7. He chose to play queen f7 mate, and that's how the game ended. So anyway, pretty good example of how to attack with one of these crazy gambits. Take advantage of your opponent's little mistakes, and of course, if you have experience with a gambit, you're quick to recognize a move like h6 as a mistake and that sacrifice is working. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.